I have most of the episodes memorized. I have to admit. Who are some of your favorite characters on MASH? Hawkeye. What? Radar?
Well, Radar.
Who did you say?
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye. BJ. Who? What? Father Mulcahy. Do I remind you of Father Mulcahy?
There are times.
I love all the characters on there. I really do. How about Major Winchester?
Major Bros.
Yeah, Winchester. What a work he is, huh? I remember one episode of MASH. The Olympic Games were starting. Oh, Ron, the Olympics just started. You're connecting dots here. And this episode of MASH, the Olympic Games were starting, and everybody was getting excited. And I can still remember that one episode. Winchester says, the Olympics, where the world shows up every 4 years to sweat. You know, he didn't think too much of it. The commander of the unit decided they were going to have their own little 4077 Olympics. You remember that? There go the heads nodding up and down. You saw the same episode. Yeah. The Olympic Games have just started now. I didn't get the chance to see much of the opening. The fact is, I didn't see any of the opening. But yesterday, I did catch a little bit of a couple of the events, and I was so fortunate because I got to see one of the events that truly appeals to me, archery. The men's archery competition was in place, and I got to see the quarterfinals or semifinals when the United States men bested China. I hate it. A 21-year-old kid is shooting for the United States. That's just not fair. But anyhow, they went on to shoot against the South Korean team for the gold medal, and they did exactly what I knew they would do, come close but not win. The South Koreans are just absolutely ridiculously good. And the only team that can beat the South Korean men is the women's team, which has won 8 consecutive gold medals in Olympic archery competition. But all that being said, I was enjoying it, and it just sort of brought back some memories of mine. I used to shoot my bow a lot. I don't do it much these days, and I would shoot a little bit in competition. I can remember in 1964 when John Williams won the gold medal for the United States. Literally, I went out and bought a recurve Olympics competition bow exactly like his. It hangs on the top of my bow rack in the house today. And I used to shoot it, and I was not bad with it. The problem was I wasn't real good with it. Not at that level. I had a dream of, I thought it'd be great to shoot the Olympic Games someday, but it's only in my dreams. I did shoot in some indoor competitions, in senior Olympic competition and things like that. Senior Olympic Games, you know, the grandkids were going to get a t-shirt that said, "Go Grandpa, go." But I remember one day I'm out shooting. Things were going just basically well. And then all of a sudden, something just went totally haywire. I set, I drew, and I released. And I watched an arrow go everywhere except where it was supposed to go. And I knew something was wrong. I knew something radical was wrong. And then I realized my bowstring had broken. When I released, bowstrings this one broke. It just gave out. It gave up the ghost. It's not the only time I've had a bowstring break. And it probably won't be the last if I continue to shoot. I've had arrows break. I've had moments when I released, and as soon as I did, a fletching would fly off the arrow. Just all kinds of things can go wrong. All kinds of things can go wrong. I wonder if a lot of people in our lives, I wonder if churches sometimes, I wonder if preachers sometimes are a little like bowstrings on a bow. Because I wonder if sooner or later they're just going to let us down. They're going to break. I don't care how strong a bowstring is. Sooner or later it's just going to give out and it's going to let me down. And I think most of us have let down someone along this life's journey at one time or another. Let's pray. God, May the words of my mouth this day and the meditations of all of our hearts, God, may they truly be acceptable in your sight. You are a strength rock, and you are indeed our Redeemer. Amen. Amen. Lots of people in this world, lots of folks running around out there this morning feel hoodwinked by religion. Let me say that again. There are a lot of folks, and some of them may be sitting right here next to you. They feel a little hoodwinked by religion. We talked often in the church when we go to plant a new church, and we're planting one in Clear Springs now, about reaching out to the unchurched, people that don't have a church home, people that have never been a part of a church, that don't know what, and that's important. We should do that. But you know, there's a bigger population out there. There's a group we call the de-churched. These are people that grew up in the church as youngsters, as young adults, whatever, and have left the church and don't really want to come back to the church, don't want anything to do with the church. There's so many folks out there that have been hurt by the church, and they don't want anything to do with it. There are people out there that put so much hope and stock in what was being taught about faith, about God's nature, and they feel like they've been let down, they've been hurt, and they don't want anything to do with it. And you know what? I don't blame them. I understand. They've been hurt, they've been disappointed, and they don't see religion or faith as having any benefit to their lives, to their daily grind. They don't think religion helps one little bit. And sometimes I wonder if part of the problem, only one part of it, is an understanding of what faith is. This is a topic we come back. It's kind of like on December the 25th, we're going to light candles in this place and sing Silent Night. It just happens. It's part of our rhythm. It's part of our season. And you're going to come back and talk about faith in worship somewhere along the line every year. Hebrews, the book of Hebrews, begins with a definition of faith that I want to read for us this morning. And I'm going to read from the 11th chapter of Hebrews, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 3, and then verses 8 through 16. I marked it in my Bible earlier, and now it's not there. There we go. Faith. Faith is the reality of what we hope for, the proof of what we don't see. The elders of the past were approved because they showed faith. By faith we understand that the universe has been created by a word from God, so that the visible came into existence from the invisible. By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was going to receive as an inheritance. He went out without knowing where he was going. By faith, he lived in the land he had been promised as a stranger. He lived in tents along with Isaac and Jacob, who were co-heirs of the same promise. He was looking forward to a city that has foundations, whose architect and builder is God. By faith, even Sarah received the ability to have a child, though she herself was barren and past the age for having children, because she believed that the one who promised was faithful. So descendants were born from one man, and he was as good as dead. They were as many as the number of the stars in the sky, and as countless as the grains of sand on the seashore. All of these people died in faith, without receiving the promises, but they saw the promises from a distance and welcomed them. They confessed that they were strangers and immigrants on earth. People who say this kind of thing make it clear that they are looking for a homeland. If they had been thinking about the country that they had left, they would have had the opportunity to return to it. But at this point in time, they are longing for a better country. That is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God isn't ashamed to be called their God. He has prepared a city for them. This is the word of God for the people of God, and we say, thanks be to God. Yeah, there's a gospel song, and I'm not going to sing it, but there's a gospel song that I dearly love called Beulah Land. And the opening line begins with, I'm kind of homesick for a country that I've never seen before. We know what it is to be homesick, right? Yeah. You go off to college and you get homesick, right? You come home and You know, you come back, you know what it is to be homesick. Well, this song reminds us that we're resident aliens. This is not our home. We sing a song about that in seasons sometimes, you know. All I know is I'm not home yet. This is not where I belong. By faith, we understand that. Faith is not just a system of beliefs. Faith is not just a system of beliefs. It's much more than just a list of things to believe in. It's something that points us toward that which we place our deepest trust. We get up every morning and we put our faith and our trust in something or someone. Every day. And sometimes those things and those someones are like that bowstring. They let us down. God has never done that. Sometimes we have to walk without sight or vision. Sometimes we have to follow the unseen to arrive at a place that's unknown. We have to trust that everything isn't going to be okay along the journey. Even if at the moment things don't look okay, or don't sound okay, or don't seem okay. And that's going to be okay. We must remember that faith is a way of seeing that which is unseen. In Hebrews, part of the verses that I didn't read for you is kind of like the Hall of Fame of the different people of faith from the past. And Abraham is a case in point that is lifted up. Abraham looked forward to the city whose architect was God. And he looked with the eyes of faith because his physical eyes could not see that city. In other words, faith is not something that we just somehow drum up with our imagination and just sort of ignore what's going on around us. But faith is a way of seeing that which is holding us up. Faith is understanding that what is really holding us up when we feel like we're about to fall apart is the hand of God. We have a phrase we use sometimes. Have you ever said this? I'm going to take a leap of faith. Anybody here never said that? I'm going to just take a leap of faith. What is a leap of faith? Well, let's think about what it's not, first of all. I think sometimes we use that phrase, I'm going to take a leap of faith, when all we're going to do is actually just throw up our hands and say, I give up and I'm going to try something new. Well, out of desperation sometimes we do something new and wild and different. Go get a new job, whatever. Is that really a leap of faith, or is that just desperation taking over? Sometimes we just get this wild idea to do something or try something new, and we quit the job we're doing to go off and be a mountain guide in the Himalayas or something. And is that really a leap of faith, or is that just kind of losing touch with reality for a second? George Neeson is not here this morning. I was going to pick on my good friend George because he loves to skydive. I have not figured out yet why any logical human being would jump out of an airplane, a perfectly good airplane with a bed sheet on their back. I just haven't figured that out yet. But there was a guy that took, well, some people said a leap of faith recently. He dove out of an airplane without a parachute. Did you read about that? Yeah, he'd done like a zillion skydiving things, and so he decided to do something really different. Something that no one else had ever done. He went skydiving without a parachute. And I'm going, how's he going to pull this? Well, he had a big safety net on the ground. And when he went out of that plane, he couldn't see the safety net down there. He just had to know it was there. And in some ways, I think that was a leap of faith. He couldn't see what was going to catch him. He couldn't see the net that was down there. He had to rely on some of his own abilities. He had to rely on the things that he had learned. But at the end, he had to rely on a net that he couldn't see catching him. A net that he had never had a chance to try out before. This was either going to be a one-and-done moment or a wonderful success story. And I tell the story simply because He made it. I think God is like that. God is that safety net that's going to catch us when we take that leap, when we just wonder if it's absolutely going to work or not, if this life is going to hold together or not, if we're going to get through it or not. As we discovered in the children's message, faith is not something we can see, like a stop sign. It's something that we have built inside, a trust factor. It's something we have to feel in our hearts. Now, I've used this illustration once before. Some of you may remember it, many of you won't. But I use it simply because it says something that I hold so true, so dear. I watched a TV miniseries a couple of years ago now. It was called The Last Ship. Some of you may have, there's been a sequel come out. I haven't watched the sequel. I don't know if it's any good or not. But I really enjoyed that miniseries of The Last Ship. The storyline is basically this. There's a worldwide pandemic that's broken out. People are just catching this incredible, deadly virus. It's spread by human contact, and there's no cure for it. Death is the final answer. And the only way to avoid contamination is to stay away from other people. Isolation. And it's, of course, a make-believe story, but that's the way the storyline is going on. There's a U.S. naval destroyer called the Nathan James, and it's on some sort of an expedition to the South Pole, doing some sort of research work or something. And because that ship is sort of isolated from what's going on in the world, no one on that ship has the disease. No one's sick. And as long as they stay at sea, as long as they don't ever go into port, as long as they don't ever make contact with other people, they're going to be okay. But these people have got families back home. They've got loved ones back home. And they want to see them. They don't want to just abandon them. And yet the captain of the ship knows that he can't let them go back, because he's got to keep that ship at sea. Now, aboard the USS Nathan James is a scientist, a paleomicrobiologist. I had to practice to learn to say that. And her name is Rachel Scott. And she's working on a vaccine, on a cure for this incredible disease. And failure after failure after failure finally gives way to one night when she has a breakthrough. And when they realize what had just happened in the experiment lab, there's sort of a calm that falls over everybody. And I can still remember this one scene when the captain of the ship and the scientists were kind of just talking to one another. And he looks at her and he says, did what I think that just happened in that room, did what I think just happened in that lab, did that really happen? And she said, yes, we've got a vaccination. People that are not contaminated can now get this vaccination and not get the disease. That alone was sign for great joy and jubilation. But she took one more step. She says, not only that, we have a cure. That those who are infected can be made well. Today, a deadly pandemic is sweeping our world. It has a simple name. We call it sin. And sin breaks out in so many different ways. All of us have our category list of what sins are. We really do. But we break God's heart in so many ways that we don't even think about sometimes. When we ignore those that have no one to speak for them. When we forget about those who are alone. When we ignore the cries of the needy. There are people with broken hearts around us every day that we just simply don't speak to. Sin breaks forth in so many ways. Hate and anger toward other people. And one of the things about this sin is that it's a disease that affects all of us. I'm infected. I really am. And I wish I could tell you this morning, none of you are going to be infected. We don't have a vaccination that we can give you that will keep you from getting infected. But here's the good news. While we don't have a vaccination to keep you from getting it, we have a cure. And His name is Jesus. We have good news. There is a cure. Sin is no joke. Sin separates us from God. Sin destroys relationships. And at the end of the day, we can't save ourselves. We need help. God sent help to the earth so long ago. And that help comes to us daily in the form of grace. Grace is a gift. Grace is something we do not earn. Grace is something we do not deserve. Yet it comes from the loving heart of God. And we receive it what? Through our faith. Everybody say that. Through our faith in Jesus. A faith that we cannot see, but a faith that sees what the eyes cannot. Grace is about mercy, and grace is not fair, because grace is for everyone. It's for the last and the lost, and for the one that's first and the one that's found. Grace is what this table is all about. And we're going to invite you in just a few minutes